Hey guys, a lot of people have been asking me questions about macros, so I just wanted to make a video really quick about the stuff that I yap about on stream all the time, but sort of compiled in a way that I hope makes it easy to learn and apply in your own games. I'm gonna try to go through like pretty quickly, and it's not super produced because like I'm lazy. But if you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to drop by my stream and ask there. So today we're gonna be specifically looking at final zones and how you can use macro to pretty much win games for free or at least gain like a huge advantage. A few actual game examples that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to try to share my thought processes during the game, basically all the factors that I'm considering. But the point that I really want to drive home is that in ER, when it comes to those big decisions, the small details are everything, right? So I'm going to start out with two pretty straightforward examples, and then we'll get into some of the more creative plays. So the first play I'm going to talk about is using the VLS and trying to third party the other two teams in the final zone. So if you're a top player, it's pretty important to have this play in your playbook. You know, do it right. Get it for game one, do it wrong. You're in a three-team zone like BG, right? So in this first clip, start all the way back here, where we're sort of establishing control in gas. We're also pushing away this Yumin Leon team. So here you can decide whether or not you want to hold gas, or if you want to be a little bit more ambitious and just like try to trail them. So here, I think trailing them is correct, because by trailing them, you can sort of use them to sort of collect information. You just keep a safe distance, shadow them, and they're essentially just going to clear the way for you. And you can sort of read their body language in a way that their information is now your information, right? So we're going to go ahead, and I sort of begin to follow them here, but we see if Luke turn around, try to cancel him on the TP or whatever, but Theodore can't cancel him because it's near like BG, right? Anyways, we decide, okay, gonna go back fire real quick and just grab the fire camps. We're not trailing them anymore, but just grab the fire camps and like sort of see what information that we can get, right? So we grab the fire camps and we found that Luke again, and we are able to get this third party for free, right? So we can go ahead, just kill this team. And we also see, as this is going on, we see pings at the bottom of the fire, so we know that a team is buying at the kiosk, right? And so we kill this team for free, and right now, we are able to see that the team that was buying at the kiosk is the Yumin Bianca team that we were sort of chasing away from gas. So this entire time we haven't seen the third team at all. So what that means is that that team has been in pawn for a while now, and at this point, they've probably firmly established control of the pawned final zone location, right? So right over here. So since we see this Yumin team on cam sort of begin to walk in, this means that the odds breaking out immediately, right as the zones close, is pretty high. Because if you're, the pawn team over here, you're probably gatekeeping this area, right? There's not that much reason not to, except for what I'm about to show you right now. So since odds of fight are breaking out immediately pretty high, I decide to head for a VLS immediately. So right now I'm calling it. Guys, we gotta go to a VLS right now. Also, note how I prepare VLS with my gadget thingy, just to make sure, like, if it doesn't work out, we can sort of just, like, fly back. Just nice detail, like, minimize the risk, right? So here, I choose to fly to, like, the bottom of the pond right over here, so I don't want to drop directly on this entrance where I have a feeling the fight is going on, but, just want to drop close enough so that we sort of see vision, sort of see what's going on if there's a fight. And there's a fight, right? So, hey, 3-3P, we don't win the game off of this, like one team gets away, but we do get like a ton of creds and also some free kills, right? And it's also just like a nice try. It was potentially game-winning play. So next we're gonna go ahead and look at this second clip over here. So this clip is pretty similar, but the key difference that I want to point out is the sort of timing that I choose the VLS. So here, we're pushing out this team of gas, or sorry, police, and also keep in mind that this one is also a 3-team situation. So we push out this team of police, and right now I'm thinking, okay, should we follow them? Like, what's going on? But like I said, the difference here is the timing of my VLS. Instead of choosing to fly immediately as the middle zone turns red, I choose to fly right before the zones close completely. So right at this timing. And this is because unlike the pond final zone, where I have a really good read of the enemy team's positioning, here for the hospital zone, we don't really know where the third team is situated, right? because we've pushed out this team and we know that they're going to be walking here, but we don't know if this hospital team is sort of situated over here, playing to gatekeep, or if they're in the final zone itself, so like right over here. And both of them are like pretty reasonable, right? So we can't really get a good read, and it's not safe to just fly over immediately. So I still want to 3P though, so I decided to just wait a little bit and then fly over right around this timing. Right. And it turns out, hey, they were fighting they were gatekeeping, and they did end up fighting over by the Stream Hospital entrance. And the fight's already over, but it's still a good play at this point because, hey, they're chunked, and also we have like zone control for free, so even if they weren't chunked, we'd probably win the game. And it's also, like, quick detail here, like, you know, I'm watching like the teams the entire. I'm making sure like it doesn't drop to 2 teams, or else I'm gonna like, call the play off, right? But yeah, this one is pretty straightforward. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show an example where I'm thinking about the play, but I sort of like call it off, right? Or not really call off, but like you'll see what I mean. So it's pretty similar opening. 3 teams. We see we're pushing away this Aiden team, right? And one also key thing to note is as we're pushing them away over here, you'll see in a moment there is a ping at the bottom of hotel over here. So I see this ping, and I think to myself, hey, this team is going to be walking over there, and they're probably going to enter through here-ish, if I had to guess. Not really sure. But this ping is pretty much the only information that I have to go off of when it comes to this play. And keep in mind, when it comes to like these VLS plays, what's really, really important is you sort of have to have like at least a decent idea of where that third team is positioned, right? Because if you don't, it becomes like really, really risky. Like if the hotel team, if you saw pings like near like top side, for example, like maybe the play would be different or whatever, right? But anyways, here I'm thinking like, do I want to 3P? Do I want to 3P? I think it's possible if they fought in this like bottom pocket, like maybe we could 3P. But you're also not really sure. But like if you look at the context, like we're pretty down bad in TK, right? So I decide, yeah, let's be a little bit more ambitious. We were kind of homeless this game, so I was like, yeah, let's just go ahead and fly over and see what happens. And the key thing that I want to point out about this play is the sort of execution that I go for here, or the exact way I do it. So I decided to fly over like around like this timing-ish when I think that the team would be entering into hotel. If they were waiting for the zones closed. I mean, they could rent early, but you know, you sort of have to make a lot of assumptions and guesses. You just go off the small details here and do what you can. So I decided to fly in a very specific way that gets me information of this bottom pocket over here, which is where I suspect a fight would have broken out if a fight did break out. But also I want to fly close enough to the VLS so that, you know, if nothing's going on, I can sort of just VLS right out. Okay. So we go ahead, fly over here, see pings at the top hotel, so like, okay, clearly they're not fighting. We still just poke our heads around a little bit, see like what's going on. Maybe they are fighting up there, I don't know what's going on. But in the end, I sort of just call the play off. I'm like, yeah, this is a little bit too risky. Let's just go ahead, take the VLS, and fly on out. So here the play didn't really work out, but it's a decent shot, right? And if you're want to be good at the game, you have to sort of be looking out for these things, and also while looking out for these plays, you also have to make sure to minimize the risk, like what I did here. You know, making sure to land near the VLS, trying just to like get vision of the area that I think there's fighting going on, and then eventually just I call it off because, you know, we just don't have enough information to go off of. And one other note is that honestly, like in the moment, what pushed me, it was a pretty close call whether or not I would go for this play, but what really like pushed me over the edge, I guess, is this one ping right now over at the hotel kiosk. So if there's no ping with like nothing to go off of regarding their positioning, it would become like a lot riskier, at least in my mind. Like looking in like retrospect, like in VOD view, you can pretty reasonably assume that the hotel team, the final zone team, is going to be either in this pocket where the final zone is, or this pocket over here, or like, you know, just this general area with the kiosk. But, you know, in the moment, I wasn't really thinking about that, honestly. I was just sort of like going off the information that the game gave me. And the information the game gave me is this ping right over here. So this ping is basically what pushed me to go ahead and go through with the play. Yeah. So next, I'm just going to go over a different sort of play, which is like sort of using like the safety drone, I guess, for advantage. So Here is a little bit of a different example. This one doesn't involve VLS. Let me just sort of, so right now it's 3 teams and we're solo team in stream and we're sort of gatekeeping right now. Gatekeeping our zone, and we see this Vanya team pop up for a second. And then in a moment's time, you'll see them wipe and it drops to 2 teams. So when it drops to 2 teams, I'm thinking, okay, we got a pawn final zone going on. So right now, I'm considering whether or not we want to move in or like what's going on, right? And here, the moment that this turns red and I see the drone location, I know exactly what play I want to go for. Right, so I immediately call, hey, we're just going to go ahead and sneak into fire. Given that the drone is so close to the fire station entrance, if I'm the team right there, I know that, for one, they're already situated there because we just saw them kill the Vanya there, right? And also, since the drone is so close to them, it's pretty reasonable to assume that they're not going to move out early into the, I don't know, like a lot of people do. It's pretty reasonable to assume that they won't because, you know, it's so close to them already that they're probably just going to go ahead and sit in fire to preserve their timer, right? So I use the safety drone to sneak into fire, and at the last second I sort of walk into the zone here, and the play works. So here we've successfully locked them into our zone because, like I assumed, they are standing at the edge of fire, and now we suddenly have a way better final zone to play than the pond one, right? Because they're also sacking a lot of timer walking back to the zone, and we have full control. So this was a really good example of using safety drones to sort of you can do this without a safety drone, by the way, but you know, safety drone just like is a nice detail to add. Just walking final zones in general, walking red in final zones in general is like a play that surprises a lot of people. So I think this is like a good example of that. Here is a sort of similar play where it's 3 teams, but we're sneaking into fire over here. And right now we see pings at the fire station kiosk. So my original plan is to sort of go for like a similar thing that you saw in the last thing, but because I see these pings in fire, you can sort of assume, since the zone just closed and they're buying in fire, you can assume that, you know, if someone is buying, all the people are in this area, right? Just to make sure if someone pulls up, like you can like defend the box or whatever. So from these pings, we can sort of know like, hey, the entire enemy team is like in that area. So here I decide to go for a vision play. I sneak into fire from, you know, the same angle as last game, and I am beelining it to this bush over here because I'm like, hey, if they're buying out the kiosk right now, they're going to eventually walk back to the final zone and they are just going to face check this bush for free, right? So the important thing is, like, you know, I'm beelining it. I'm trying to get here as fast as possible, and just, you know, you will see in a little bit that the play ends up working right now. And yeah, so here we kill Lenore and win this zone for free. Next, I want to go over this example. So this example is a little bit different from the other plays that I've shown so far because there's no sort of like tangible information to go off of, like pings. This is sort of a case where I'm just like reading the map, and like reading the state of the zones or whatever. So what I decided to do is, all right, let me set this in actually. So right now we just wipe this team in fire station, right? So we know that there's 2 teams, and so the last team is in pond and the other final zone is Sem. So I go ahead, I blind my blood, and then I'm thinking, is there a play I can make? And now here, since the final zone is pond, and I'm like, okay. Oh, we also see that this kiosk is over here. I'm like, okay, I have a play. I am going to run into Sem from red, from research center, and try to make a vision play over here. So we sort of safety drone, drop 2 of them, and I decide to sit right here. And the second that I see the pings near the bottom over here as we're running, I probably shouldn't have skipped over that. I know that, hey, we are going to win this game for free. The game is already over, right? So we go ahead and we set a vision trap over here. And the thing is that when you see these pings over here, you know that they're going to jump pad over, right? If you're the Sem team and the final zone is pond, there's so little incentive to walk through this way, especially if you're assuming that the other team's holding fire. You want to jump pad, obviously, because you're going to save a lot more time. So, you know, vision play, you know, drop the cam on top, top of yourself like this, see a little bit more than them. And since I saw the pings at the bottom, I decided to like make a little bit more, like this is like a small detail. Just in case they do, walk through this bottom part, I go ahead and I just jump pad over. I tell my team not to follow me, jump pad over, drop a cam, like just in case, and then I go back to the trap. And so you eventually see that the enemy team just ends up falling for it, and we just win the game for free. But yeah.